Well, welcome, and thank you for joining us tonight. My name is Julian Wilcock. I'm the headmaster at John Collett School here in Belrose. Tonight we've been asked to speak about our unique art program that we provide at John Collett School and the benefits of art in general for primary age children. And I do appreciate that tonight we might have some parents listening that don't know about school, as well as having some of our parents that do have our children at school. So I'll try and do my best to address both audiences. Tonight I'm joined by one of our art teachers, Mrs. Kate Nielsen. Mrs. Nielsen is a practicing artist whose work has been presented in galleries in Sydney, across Australia and internationally. Over the last 10 years, Kate's unique art has been a regular finalist in some of the most well-regarded art competitions. She completed her studies in art in the National Art School and is currently completing a master's in primary teaching. So tonight, hopefully we'll have the opportunity at the end for questions that we can address. If you're able to give a thumbs up that you're watching as we're going to air tonight, that'll be great, just so we know we've got an active audience. Also, if when I'm speaking tonight, I touch on other areas of interest you might be wanting to find out more about, whether it's our school or education in general, pop it in the comment box. And if we get enough interest, we're happy to offer more of these sort of sessions, as we have in the past. Questions have come up and we've created new sessions as well. And I do have a colleague here who'll be keeping an eye on any questions, and she should be able to pass them to me at the end as well. So while we're waiting for a few people to join us, I'll just give you a bit of a background on our school. If you're looking for a primary education, I do encourage you to touch base. The best way to choose a school, whether it's ours or any other school, is to actually go and visit the school. We do have an open day coming up on Sunday the 28th of May. You're very welcome, friends and family. It's an open event. We've missed out for many years with COVID, as well as a building project that's now complete. So we're looking forward to this really being a wonderful event. Our school, standalone primary school with no affiliation to any local preschools or secondary schools. And I know in Sydney there is a trend for a lot of parents to look at public for primary and independent for secondary. For us at John Collett School, it's the other way around for many of our parents. And we do see primary as fundamental in setting the foundations for students. And for our parents, this is also the case, many of whom will invest in primary and look to public education for a high school. So as a standalone primary school, our students leave us at the end of 6th class to begin their next education journey. We have about 50% who enter independent schools and about 50% who travel on to the public sector, many of whom will be offered either scholarships or places at selective schools. However, the range is broad as to their choices. So our focus is not in teaching or meeting the needs of any particular secondary school, but to have students who are confident, resilient, academically secure, happy, aware of their strengths and weaknesses or areas to develop, and they're ready for high school. So we are being here in Belrose now. The school started in 1985. Currently we have 270 students, 2 classes per year level, running from lower first, what we call kindy, through to 6th class. That's 14 classes in general. So giving us an average of about 19, 20 children per class. Our children do stay with the same teacher for a number of years in inference, so 3 years, and we mix up the classes before they receive a new teacher for 2 years in years 3 and 4, and then we do the same process in 5 and 6. We do find the connection between teacher and student is crucial. Enjoy a low turnover of staff. It is a lovely place to work. Some of whom were here right at the start of the school are still with us. The last headmaster here was here for just over 30 years. This is my 8th year. I'm originally from the Northern Beaches, having grown up in Warriewood. Most recently, before John Collett School, I was in Singapore for 5 years and Dubai for 10, leading international schools there. So I think we've allowed, that's a little bit of an overview of our school. You can find more information on our website, but I think I've left enough time for other people to join at the moment. So thank you again for your time this evening. We've been asked to speak about a unique art program, and it is quite unique, and the benefits of art in general. So the art program at John Collett School, for a school of our size, as I said, about 270 students, you would normally expect one full-time art teacher, roughly. We employ 3 part-time artists, as well as specific art contractors, such as a ceramicist that we use, and someone come in for bookbinding as well. Art lessons run for about an hour and a half. So typically in a primary school, you generally have 2 art lessons of about 30 minutes each. Ours run for about an hour and a half, so that children can really take their time to fall into the art and give the time required for their art within there as well. The work that the children do often runs over many weeks, and in doing so allows the child to produce something that they might not have thought themselves capable of. So our aim for students when they eventually leave John Collett School is that they have a love of art and feel themselves capable of expressing themselves in a number of ways for communication and for enjoyment. And this is the same approach we take for all of our subjects. So rather than looking at a particular academic standard, what we look for is children who finish primary school who are happy, that don't leave school feeling that they're not good at art or music or reading or maths or science. They've got a long way to go in their learning journey. And they should feel they can approach and enjoy any subject, especially when they're just finishing primary school as well. So the art at John Collett School is artist-based, in that children see themselves as artists producing artworks rather than a typical craft-based primary program. Students learn about the works of a variety of artists and study the different ways art is produced. There's a strong emphasis on culture-based art, coming to an understanding of the ideology between artworks. They also study the great art movements in the Western world, such as the Renaissance, Impressionism, and contemporary art. And through this study, learn how art is expressive and integral part of life and human expression for all times. Now, at John Collett School, we also have a number of other subject areas that are added to our curriculum. Art, as I said, is extended. We have a Shakespeare program, a philosophy program, Sanskrit and classical languages. What that means is if you're doing the New South Wales curriculum and you have these other subject areas, then there's only so much time within the day. So a lot of our art tends to also be connected to the subjects that the children are studying in their regular lessons, geography, history, science. And this way it forms more meaningful connections for the students as well. So I did mention we've just finished a building project, and we've opened a purpose-built art centre. It's a wonderful space that ensures students have the best environment and the best resources to support their learning. It's been designed in terms of both sound and light and space, and it's I suppose takes the centre stage of our school, as it should, as art really being one of the core attributes of our school. So on that note, perhaps now's a good time to show maybe just a quick short gallery of recent artworks done by many of our students before I pass over to our art teacher, Ms. Kate Nielsen. Let's start the video. that was just a very brief video of some recent artworks that we collected for our yearbook. To really get a good feel of the art that's in our school, I would recommend coming and visiting the school. The art is within all the classrooms as well as our new art block. Now, as I mentioned before, our art program, we have 3 practicing exhibiting artists that we work with on site. And actually, one of our art teachers was featured in the Sydney Morning Herald a couple of days ago regarding winning the Win Art Prize, which sits next to the Archibald. We're very proud of as well. So passionate teachers is what we're all about. And I'll now pass over to Ms. Kate Nielsen, one of our practicing exhibiting artists and teachers, to speak about the benefits of art with regards to the progress and overall development of young children. Hello, Kate. Kate's in a different place.
Hi.
I'm just waving over to her.
Yes, I'm at home with the kids. Thank you for having me. It's such a large topic to talk about, so I'll just keep it fairly brief. But I just wanted to talk about the importance of art in every age level in primary school. So starting from lower first all the way through to year 6. When children are in lower first or kindergarten, art and creativity is a scaffolding for all of their learning for the rest of their primary and high school lives. And that's because when they obviously come to kindy, they're learning how to write, learning how to read, and things like fine motor skills and shape recognition and spatial awareness, problem-solving skills, they all come into play, and they can be practiced through learning about the arts. Also, their attention, you were touching on this before, Julian, but their attention to being able to hold attention to what they're doing and doing extended works, like revisiting artworks, is all part of that learning and that brain cognition that happens in early primary school. I like to think about with the little ones, with all children, but particularly with the little ones, that it's all about the process. Excuse me. It's all about the process. It's not about the product. The learning is happening in the process, and it's those younger years where that's really, really important to remember. And a really good thing to do with younger children and all children is observational drawing. Observational drawing is obviously when you have an object and you are looking at it and you are best representing that object on paper. And just even discussing that with children is really important, because they learn how to pay attention. They also are beginning to really study and understand their subjects, and also they're practicing their hand-eye coordination. So it's a really, really important tool for them to have. And because we have such a rich art program at John Collett, we are able to have, give them time to do that from the earliest age. As they get a bit older, I just want to talk about 4 different elements here. As they get older and through to year 6, there's connection is something that's really important when you're learning about the art. So what I mean by that is connecting to themselves, connecting to others, connecting to their own cultures, connecting to other people's cultures, connecting to generations gone, generations of the future, and also learning about history. The third one is communication. It's a really, when you're learning about the arts, you're learning basically another form of visual communication. And also reflection. Number 4 is reflection, which is also very important because you need the skill of being able to reflect on your own work as well as others, and as well as reflecting on famous people's works. It's a good tool to have, obviously, throughout primary. Now I'm just going to quickly talk. I found a great website today, and it had a few topics that came up. So I'm just going to quickly discuss them, and I think the website will come up at the end. I'm not sure. So I really liked this sentence: creativity lights up the brain. So being creative and learning about the arts has been proven to actually, it's the fluidity of learning. Brain cognition comes into play. It's all about learning about problem solving, critical thinking, making connections between different subjects, making connections between different ideas. Sorry, I'm reading from notes. I'm a bit tired, but so yes, and all of those elements allow children to more easily learn, and not just in the arts, but learn in general, and across all subjects. The next one is creativity motivates children to learn, which is a really important thing, because I think that children need to be motivated to learn. They learn better when they're motivated. And there was a lovely little story on the website that I was looking at today that was talking about it was talking about making videos, and I think the assignment was that they had to make a TikTok video, which is a bit, TikTok, but anyway, to make a video, and a girl had to learn a lot of gymnastics in order to make that video. So she was so motivated to get the video right that she learned along the way all these other skills. And I think that's very much where the arts is. It's not just learning about one isolated things. There's always connections between different things, and that's where those connections can be learned. I think also Year 6 is a very important year, as are all years, but Year 6, obviously, we're preparing children for the next part of their education, going through to high school. And I think when they're learning about the arts and creativity, it's learning them, opening up to the world of analysis. And also it supports their learning in other subjects. Like, obviously, history is so closely related to the arts, because the arts have always, throughout time, have been part of, or have been a way to communicate what has been happening in the world. So there's a history, it's very closely connected to history. And I really liked this quote. Creativity has been part of the human condition ever since we first began to think and ask questions of ourselves and our surroundings. And of course, that's true. I mean, art was the first way of communicating ideas to each other, from cave paintings all throughout history. So that's important. And I also think that in the later years of primary school, unfortunately, that innocence of those first few years and the excitement sort of turns into more of insecurities can possibly creep in, self-doubt creeps in. And I have always felt like, even when I was in high school as well and primary school, that art is actually a way of building confidence. It's a way of doing something that's not ever going to be wrong. I mean, I always tell my students, there's no wrong way of doing this. There's only right ways of doing this. The only wrong thing you can do is like not do it. If you are looking, and if you are creating, and if you are thinking, you are succeeding in art. But I think that's a lovely, safe place for children to be able to learn in. So obviously creativity spurs on emotional development. And as I said just then before, it's a very tricky time of children's lives. They're going from primary to high school. Those later years can be very stressful. And learning about creativity in the arts is all about learning about problem solving. And I think problem solving is one of the most important skills that children can have, because, I mean, adults still have to do it every single day. We're juggling our lives, we're juggling everything, and problem solving skills are essential to be able to be successful. And also I like this other quote that says, students begin to see that they are limitless and there are no boundaries with art. And once children actually learn that, they really are limitless. And I see it all the time. And I don't just see it with a few students. I literally can see it with almost every student that I've had. And it's also helping with their self-esteem, as because what you need, you're through the arts, you're allowing students to explore themselves and to not worry about what the end result is, regardless of what they're doing. I often hear in the art room, quite often, things like, I can't do it, and I've done the wrong thing, or, mine's not perfect. And you hear that a lot. And I've just got a few little phrases that I always say to children, things like, it's the process, sorry, not perfection. And also, perfection lies within imperfection. There is no perfect in art. There is no one answer. There's never, ever one way of doing something, which, if you can sort of get your head around that, that's an incredibly positive way to learn. And I always say things to them like, draw what you see, not what you know. So they really, by that I mean, don't think you know what something is. Don't think you know the right way to do this. Don't think you're you can just do it in 5 minutes. You actually have to take the time, show attention, understand what you're doing, and look at something and represent that to the best of your abilities. And also, as I said before, drawing is a form of research. It's not about making a pretty picture. It's not about, you know, it's all about learning. And you can see children's learning within there. I really don't like when they get the rubbers and they start rubbing out all their work. Year 5 was doing that to me today, and I was saying, don't rub it out. What's the point in rubbing it out? This is your learning. This is I can visually see how you're learning. It's all about the process. And just the last thing I wanted to talk about was that creativity is an essential skill for the future, for jobs, for everything. I read today that, you know, even Google, when they're hiring, apparently they're looking for creative thinkers. I mean, I'm sure they're looking for lots of other things as well. But if you are a creative thinker, if you can be a critical thinker, it's going to, it opens your doors. I had a gorgeous lecturer at the National Art School, and he used to talk about being a man of the universe, which by that he meant you should be able to enjoy a football game as much as a Botticelli painting or a really excellent play, a Shakespeare play, as much as Peppa Pig or something like that. So what he meant by that, obviously, is that creative thinking is essential, and it has always been an essential part of being a human being. And I think because at John Collett it's fostered so beautifully from when they arrive, that's why I feel like that children leave John Collett full of all the essential skills and all the confidence that they need to go through to high school.
Thank you, Kate. I didn't know about your art teacher at university there, but that whole idea of you know, art being everywhere and being able to use different skills and enjoy different things, that sort of idea of like what used to be called the Renaissance person or Renaissance man, you know, that you can dip your toe in everything. Just because you don't make art your job, how sad is it if you don't have art in your life as well in some way or another?
Yeah, and also just to be able to appreciate it is enough.
Yeah, yeah. Well, look, I don't have a lot of talent in art, but as my dad used to say, and he's a bit of an artist, he used to say, the world always needs an audience. You know, so
yeah, it's true.
That's my role.
True.
Thank you. That was really interesting. So the philosophy behind our program at John Collett School is centred on the need to develop children's capacity for attention, and Kate was talking a little bit about that as well, about the ability to focus. Part of the reason our lessons run for like an hour and a half. Also, part of the reason we have a low IT touch at our school. It is very paper and pen based, or very hands-on, rather than being screen based. We do see screens as useful, but as a tool. So when you're doing art, or when you're writing, or you're actually reading from a book, you're giving your attention rather than attention being captured. And that development of attention at an early age through practical experience is crucial. I do have many parents who come to me talking about screen time and how much is enough, and that, you know, when you take that away, the children are unable to actually give their focus. They're looking all over the place for something to do, and that's because on the screen their attention is being captured and turned over about every 3 to 4 seconds with something new. So being able to quieten the mind and sort of go a bit deeper into yourself, especially in art, and you know, practical expression of that is a wonderful gift. So we do believe that children need to be taught how to focus. It's a thing for their tool belt that's going to help them further down the road. So attention, or the ability to give full awareness, is really simply just focusing on what is in front of you, something that needs to be taught. But it's never too late to learn. We do this a number of ways at John Collett School. So we do have a mindfulness program. Mindfulness is really great that it's entering a lot of schools now and businesses. We've been practicing it since the school opened in 1985, and we do it through what's called a pause. So simple 10, 20 seconds at the start and finish of each activity that allows children just to fall still, close their eyes, and come to rest, so they can give full attention to the next activity that they're moving on to. It is something that runs through every single subject, including in the lunchroom as well, or on the sports field. But it does really assist children in bringing their attention into focus, but also helping with anxiety as well. The key to it in being present is just connecting to the senses. So it's just simply connecting to the senses. If you're in touch with your senses, to what you're hearing, what you're seeing, what you're tasting, the smell in the room, you're present, you're in the moment. And I think the art program is a great example, especially the way you bring it here, Kate, is having all those sort of sensory experiences within the art program too. And similarly with our performing arts, which is our Shakespeare program, the attention and mindfulness skills that are derived from the Shakespeare program have a direct impact on the children's academic and social skills as well. That engagement, having to be fully on stage in the moment, but also being confident enough to be able to express yourself. So I don't hate art, I don't hate drawing, I don't feel like I can't express myself. Is a wonderful gift to give children at an early age, because they can come back and dip into it in later life. So on our art program in particular, as I said before, the students would have about an hour and a half of art lessons. They've got the space to engage mindfully in truly excellent work. And you were talking, Kate, a little bit before about the children's work and not using an eraser. And I remember an art teacher telling me one time that the sign of a good art teacher is knowing just when to take the work away from the child.
Yes, definitely.
Trying to find that spot, but also trying to focus, like you said, on the process, not the product. So it doesn't need to be, if you do get those children who look for perfection, and it just goes on and on and on trying to get that until something happens that takes them further away from what they actually wanted to produce. But the work that they do over many weeks is to produce something which is their best and something they can be really proud of. It's a skill. Yeah. Sorry, Kate?
Oh, I just said definitely. I agree completely.
So our art program is one of the threads that connects many of the different aspects of the school. And at a time when art is often treated like a less important subject within the official government curriculum, or as a secondary subject in primary schools, often simplified, sometimes used as a busy activity or just sort of craft based. Our program, and it's more evident to me now after being 8 years at John College School, is how central art is, or how beneficial it is to the curriculum, and then also the philosophy and self-understanding of children. So where extended art time is given to art lessons, where subject material, including art movements, great artists, is woven into with other subject areas. Children have experience making their own ink, using natural materials, ceramics, learning calligraphy, bookbinding, needlework. This transdisciplinary approach gives credence to the importance of art in all forms. They all have the opportunity to give time, refine their understanding, skill, and it's a gift they'll take into the future as well. And art's all around us. Industrial design doesn't just have to be pictures on the wall. Architecture, urban planning, marketing, clothing, entertainment, shoes you're wearing, your haircut, cutlery, everything is art. Some better than others, yet all aspects of life incorporated. So our students are a rich curriculum within a beautiful environment under the guidance of passionate artistic teachers are given the time and space to enjoy and experience it beyond parallel. So I hope you've enjoyed the brief talk that we've had tonight. We are opening it up to questions. If any, I've been passed a few questions to me. If you do have any questions, pop them up now. We'll try and get through as much as possible. We'll focus on the ones specifically to art. If I have time for other questions about school in general, pop them up there. They might end up being a different subject session that we can do in a future time as well. Some of the QR codes I think you can see on the screen now that Kate was recommending before. You can scan those with your phone, or we can also send those to you if you get in touch with the school. And I hope you found at least some of the points raised tonight relevant to you and your family on the benefits of art for young children. We do have an open day coming up very soon, as I said, on the 28th of May, as part of our opening of our new art centre. And this year does have a very big major art focus. We've got exhibiting artists, lots of activities occurring where both young and old can get involved. And the opportunity to visit classrooms, great food, entertainment. It's going to be a wonderful day. We've missed out on it for a very, very long time. And if you want to find out more information, there's obviously our website, Instagram or Facebook pages. Or if you want to see the school in normal operations, which I do recommend, whether you're looking for our school in particular or other schools, go while the school's operational. You get to get the feel for the life of the school. So I'm happy to have a look at any questions that have come up. Let's see. You might have to help me with some of these ones, Kate.
Yeah.
Do you teach? Sorry?
Do you want me to take this one?
Oh, that's the one that's got it up on the screen. Wonderful. Yeah, if you could take that one.
So it's, do you teach about Indigenous art? And if so, how do you go about it? Yes, of course we do. We go about it in many ways. I like to incorporate it in almost everything we do. For example, I'm doing with Year 5 at the moment, I'm doing Australian landscape painting. And obviously you can't do that without looking at some Indigenous artists. So I will look at artists like William Robinson, who's not Indigenous, and then I'll go into Indigenous art, and then I'll go, so it would be part of, so it wouldn't be tokenistic is what I mean. It's not something attached on the end, it's a part of it. I also, I've just completed my, one of my assignments for my master's, and I had to write a children's book, and then at the end you have to do an art experience that's attached to that. And I'm going to be using this with the kids at the children at John Collett, and I incorporated a lot of Indigenous elements into that. So everything's incorporated together. It's not like we go, oh, today we're going to learn about, the Renaissance, and then next week we're going to learn about Indigenous Australian art. There's a flow to it, so it comes into almost everything we do. Obviously it doesn't come into when we're teaching about romanticism or something like that, but it does come into play a lot within our program.
Fantastic. And I think there's a question, and it's come straight up on the screen as well as mine. We were talking a bit about perfectionism before.
Yep. I can take this one again. That is far more, I can't tell you how many children are perfectionists, and I do talk a lot about this with children, and then I obviously will observe a class and observe children who are visually becoming anxious about not being able to make it right. And there are many different ways that I would deal with that, but mostly just being part of the program and being part of the different exercises that all three of us will give. It's the children end up following the instruction that we're giving, and it reduces their anxiety because, sorry, I'm not speaking very, I'm very tired, but what I mean by that is what we do is I will accommodate that, and I will give either more clearer instructions to that child, so it's much more methodically based, or I will give them more free rein. I'll just gauge each child. But it's really not that uncommon that children come into the art room, particularly when they're in the younger years, and they will be anxious about making things perfect because they need to experience our program first before they can understand that that's not where the results are. So hopefully we get to each individual child and meet their needs.
Yeah, I think it's taking the pressure off when they want to compare their work with other people as well.
Yes,
Because,
yes,
I mean, children are very good at doing that. And I
they
think one of
are.
the,
But yeah, I think it's they do compare. They're very, very supportive of each other, because we talk extensively about artists and things, and we'll look at different things, and we'll do specific exercises that will loosen them up and not make them worry about that. For example, we might do a drawing of something, and then we'll cut it up into pieces and rearrange it and make another drawing out of it. So there are different methods you can use to help a child through that feeling of trying to make things perfect.
yeah. And I also think like a good, well-rounded primary education allows children to shine in different ways too. So not
Absolutely.
everyone has to be the best artist. There, you've got sports
Absolutely.
people and academic
And
children, and you're great actors, and
I think also, even within the art room, some people might be very good at drawing, but then when it comes to painting, they have, they're a bit lost, or vice versa. So even within the art room, everybody has obviously skills, a different skill set.
yeah. I think this next question is a good one too. I've got a young child that isn't interested in picking up a crayon, just wants to run around. How do I get their interest in art?
Can I just say,
you've got a couple of your own children like that, don't you?
it is a bit ironic, because both of my children they will not sit still for literally 5 seconds, and they have absolutely no interest in art. My daughter maybe a little bit, but she's 4, and my son is 6. And the anxiety that I felt before my son went to primary school, because he didn't want to pick up anything. He wasn't interested in reading. He wasn't interested in writing. Certainly wasn't interested in art. He just wanted to run around and be on his bike. I think that I wish I could tell myself a few years ago that it was going to be okay, because it is. Because firstly, they fall into the school system, and they get used to it. And secondly, I think that they don't need to develop a love for it. It's just all about practicing. And that's why John Collett's program is so fantastic, because there's time for that practice. There's not a pressure to create something to put up on the wall, and there's actually time to learn the craft of making art, or learn the the art of making a piece of artwork.
Yeah, because many artists won't sit down and say, okay, I've got 2 hours to finish this art, and I've
Well,
got
I
to
do.
stay on the desk.
But
That's
it's
your
true.
way of operating.
It's true. And yes, I mean, at this level, we're not, an hour and a half is a long time for children, actually. So it is, you can get a lot of things done. You can produce, you can get a lot of thinking happening in that hour and a half. And I think also that whole, I'm worried about my child because they're not even picking up a crayon and they're not interested at all. I'm pretty sure that 99.9% of parents, apart from, the children that are really interested in it, but it's so common. It's such a common thing to be anxious about.
Yeah, that's great. How many hours of art class? Well, I think we talked about that before, about an hour and a half per week of dedicated art class.
Yeah.
But then there's quite a bit of art that goes along in the classrooms as well, associated with, different subject areas.
Oh, and that's another thing I forgot to say before, Julian, that we work very closely with the teachers within the classroom. So the art room curriculum is never too far away from what's happening in the classroom. So that's what I was talking about before about, well, if a class is looking at Australian history, we might look at Australian landscape painting, for example. So yes, they don't only just get the information. This is where it all crosses over, and learning. It's really important for children to be able to take their learning to different subjects, because we all work so closely together.
Yeah, I think I saw, was it last term in year 2, who were looking at science on structures, and then we had the ceramicist in, and they created bridges. I think it was year 2, it might have been year 3.
Yes, it wasn't
yeah, and a great connection for the children as well.
Absolutely. Nothing's ever isolated. Everything connects, and which is really important for children. It's how they learn best.
Yeah. And I think, schooling sometimes gets stuck in that rut where every subject gets put in its own compartment. And, as a child, you want to say, well, how do I use it, in life? Why am I learning it? Tell me why.
Yes.
Why do I have to learn, I'd explained to me once with, in terms of maths, where a teacher said to me, if you're just studying maths from a textbook all the time, it's like learning the guitar just by looking at it. You know, it's you've got to actually play it. You've got to use your maths, or you've got to use your art and apply it in different ways. So that's a good example. Thank you.
Yeah.
I have an artistic kid. How do I get them interested in maths or use art for teaching them maths and science?
Good question. Well, there are lots of different, well, actually those websites that I've given might give you some good information there, but also I have a child at the moment who absolutely loves maths. This is a child at school, not my own. Absolutely loves maths and says he struggles in art, but he's actually very talented. And I've given him a ruler. I give him a ruler every lesson, and he is allowed to grid things up. Gridding up, I'm not sure how old your child is, but gridding up a picture of something perfectly with all exactly the same, measured grids, and then putting a grid on another piece of paper and copying that over is a really, really good thing to do. But get the ruler out, get the protractor out, make some shapes, have a play around with all of that stuff. But maths is not my strong point. So,
well, I know from from my own child who gets wrapped up in architecture or buildings, and she is not a lover of maths. She's in the HSC and she hasn't taken maths, and she would like to be able to do architecture, but it's really not a love of hers. But she's whenever we're walking through the city, she shows me parts of buildings I just don't notice. So making those connections for students is
well, actually, my husband is doing a career change. We met at art school, so he's also an artist, but he's now becoming an architect. And he says all the time that if he hadn't studied art, he would be so far behind now. So it is architecture is a nice marrying, and building and engineering is actually a nice marrying of art and other maths. Engineering,
industrial design, head to the furniture store. You can tell what's beautiful.
That's right.
Classic design.
A man of the universe.
That's it, man of the universe. Okay. I think that might have been the last question for us. Look, more than happy if other questions come up after tonight or you're watching a recorded version to get in touch with the school. Best way is to come and visit the school, have a bit of a tour around while the school's in operation, and you can see the art in every classroom throughout the school, the children pausing, and just get the general vibe from the school. So thank you very much again for your interest this evening. Have a look at our website. Open day, 28th of May. Come up and visit. It's going to be a wonderful day, but thank you again for your time. And thank you, Kate, especially as well. Full day of teaching today, 2 young children at home, and then the headmaster has pressured her into doing a Facebook Live at 7:30 in the evening on a Thursday night. So thank you very much.
My pleasure, Julie. My pleasure.
Thank you all.
Thanks.